Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Wrestling Fans Insight, episode number 49. I'm Will. We today will not have John, unfortunately. He's going through some ailments. And the co-host joining me, Carlos. How was your week?
It was good, man. It was an okay week of wrestling, in my opinion. I thought WWE kind of lacked, and I thought AEW was good. Personally, doing really good. Hit the gym 6 days this week, so I'm feeling kind of accomplished this week. So it's been a good week.
All right, cool. Heather, welcome back. How are you doing this week?
I'm surviving. No, I'm doing okay. I didn't really get to pay attention to much of the shows this week because of my personal issues that got going on. But I just thought I'd come hang out with y'all for a little bit since I ain't been on here much. Just grace y'all with my presence.
Well, we're happy to have you back.
Thank you.
All right, so without further ado, let's get into the WWE results for this week. Starting off with Raw, Sami Zayn defeats Baron Corbin. Dolph Ziggler gets defeated by Mustafa Ali. Asuka defeats Nikki Cross. Seth freaking Rollins defeats The Miz. Bronson Reed defeats Chad Gable. And in a United States Championship match, Austin Theory defeats Edge. As far as NXT, Ilya Dragunov defeats Trick Williams. The Dyad defeats Chase University. JC Jane defeats Indy Hartwell in a DQ. Gallus defeats Malik and Idris for the Tag Team Championship. D'Angelo defeats Von Wagner. Alba Fire defeats Ivy Nile. And Braun Breaker defeats Jinder Mahal. SmackDown, Imperium defeated Monsters and Madcap Moss. Kofi Kingston defeats LA Knight. Shayna Baszler defeats Natalya. And Karrion Kross defeats Rey Mysterio Jr. Carlos, why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts about this week?
Okay, so I'm going to start with in order too, because let me just start with this. So by the time I watched Raw and by the time I finished SmackDown, like my opinion had changed on the Bloodline thing. But like going into Raw, I felt like the opening segment was good. But the thing was like I wasn't feeling the slow burn at that time of Sami and Owens reuniting. But I was, like I said, willing to let it play out. And that was my honest notes at the time I was watching Raw. The one thing I thought Raw was missing was the Bloodline, especially coming off of a premium live event, and especially like coming out of it's a road to WrestleMania and not really having Roman on either show I thought was just a bad call. And again, I get that he's on limited appearances, but I mean, you should have him on every week going up to WrestleMania. And then they should. And again, the show. And again, if you're not gonna have Sami and KO reunite automatically, then there should have been a tag team title match on Raw. With someone else, like let's say Gallows and Anderson, or even like the Street Profits, or even Alpha Cat. Someone's trying to punch their ticket to WrestleMania, because that's the one thing you keep hearing when they're talking about the women is the road to WrestleMania. So for me, it'd be cool to see like, okay, hey, we're gonna have a tag team title match because this team's trying to secure their road to WrestleMania. So again, that's just one thing I feel like that was missing as well. I really enjoyed the Corbin and Sami match. I thought it was the best Baron Corbin match in a long time. The Rhea and Dom interview was really good. I felt like this week's Cody and Heyman thing was a miss. Again, for me, like, I mean, no offense, but Paul Heyman's kind of gross. And I just, it's like keeping branding. I just thought to me, the whole segment just fell flat. And I guess, reading some of the, wrestling sites, they were just trying to keep Paul Heyman out there quickly because they didn't want the crowd to turn on Cody. But I think, you got to trust the fans sometimes to just let things play out. And again, I just thought it was a really bad segment. I enjoyed it almost on Lesnar. Again, I just laughed when I heard that announcement. And it just goes to show that Vince does have his hands in creative. I don't know, maybe also Triple H just throwing this bone at Vince to keep him happy. I don't know. The Ding Ding on Hollow segment was really good. I feel like that really lets Bayley shine, with her heel character, and she just comes off as a sarcastic bitch, and it's really good for her. And I just wish they let her do that more, because I think it helps her kind of get over, and really fans realize how good she was before she went off on injury. And then let's see, and the main event, that was great for Theory, but again, it was just I wasn't. I guess I should have felt it more. And again, for me, like not having the Bloodline on Raw really kind of just took me out of the momentum of it. For NXT, the Trick Williams and Ilya Dragunov match was a really great match. That was definitely Trick's best match that he's had. And again, it just really showed me what he can do, because for someone who doesn't wrestle regularly on NXT, he brought it to when he was given the opportunity, he took the brass ring. And so it was really, really good. The Tyler Bate promo felt really bad. Was really bad to me. It fell flat, and I just not get into what he's trying to do. And he felt like he was just trying to remember the words, and it just felt like the promo had no heart to it. And then for me, like, I think a problem for, like, I just, like, when Schism came out, like, I honestly forgot they were even in NXT. And I think that's just something maybe they need to work on better, is just making sure that stars like them, like Joe Gacy and Tony D'Angelo, who were really shining at one point for them, aren't getting lost in the shuffle and aren't losing their momentum when they're trying to bring in all these other people as well. Hopefully they do a better job of that. And again, for me, like, I'm going to to what I said last week. I just would like to see some call-ups, because I feel like it just feels like stars like Indy Hartwell and Von Wagner feel like they're in wrestling purgatory, and I would like to see them get called up and kind of just get more of a chance, and get a chance to shine. The main event fell flat for me. It didn't have the energy that it should have had. When you're facing a former WWE champion, I just don't feel like Braun brought it, and I really just feel like the whole match fell flat. For SmackDown, a good opening match, but again, for me, like, I'm really tired of seeing Ricochet and Braun lose, and I'm kind of curious, for what they've done for the SmackDown brand, they both really deserve to have a good match at WrestleMania. So I'm kind of curious on what the road to WrestleMania is going to be. For the Dom and Ray stuff, I thought Dominic was a really good star this week. The one thing about Dom and Ray is I honestly wouldn't mind if they were to hold off for a year for this match, because for me, like, when Dominic fights Ray, I want him to take his career and take his mask, and that's just my own personal thing. I wouldn't mind seeing Santos and Ray versus Dominic and I can't think of his other name. The other guy in Judgment Day, Damian Priest. I wouldn't mind seeing that match. LA Knight and Kofi was a great match, but it was just kind of like, what's the point of this? I don't really think Kofi's going to be getting a singles match at WrestleMania, so I didn't really like the fact that he beat LA Knight. And then I think it was really smart of them to have Dominic out there with Charlotte Flair. I thought that was a smart segment, because Dominic's going to get the heat instead of, the crowd turning on Charlotte, because the crowd wants to cheer for Rhea. So I just thought it was really smart of them to put Dominic out there, because he gets the heat. Natalya and Shayna was what my favorite part was when she said that she's going to Ronda says, I'm gonna get you next week's Skittles and you're gonna taste the rainbow. I thought that was a really funny promo. The Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse thing, again, I'm not gonna shit on it, because I know people that love it. That's just not my cup of tea. I didn't like it at all, and it just was like, oh, so the secret's that Bray Wyatt does acid. Okay, sweet. It's just kind of like, it was weird to me. I just didn't like it at all. The Ray and Cross, I love the ending of the match. I love how Scarlett went over the top rope into the ring. I thought it was a sweet spot. And then I love Dom catching his dad getting involved again. It's just like, you can just tell the crowd wants Ray to do it. And I also love how Cross hooked Ray's arm when putting in the sleeper. Again, it's just those little things that make it even that much better. I thought that promo between Jimmy and Sammy was excellent. Jimmy stepped up this week and he knocked it out of the park. I wanted, like I said, I was ready to see KO and Sammy together, but then after that, I'm glad that they're holding off, because it's just really good drama that we're getting to see play out on television. And it's been a long time since we had a really good storyline like this in wrestling, so why not enjoy it and let it play out?
All right. Thank you, Carlos. Heather, do you have anything to add?
I don't really have a whole lot, because, I did watch the shows, but I wasn't really able to take any notes or anything, because, like I said, dealing with other stuff. But, I'm loving, like, here we go. Y'all get ready. I'm loving the whole bloodline breaking down. I'm just, like, so excited for it. And, like, the whole thing with Sammy and Jimmy in the ring, and then Jay just standing in the audience, not really making a choice, just standing there watching them. I really thought that was excellent right there. And just, like, really, that's all I got to say right now, because I'm just dealing with so much. But, yeah, I'm just enjoying the breakdown of the bloodline.
All right. Well, thank you, Heather. So I guess I'll say my little bit about it. I really didn't have much that differed from what Carlos had to say about this week. To me, this week was kind of just extremely subtle for WWE. And really, as Carlos mentioned, it should be the start of the big build-up. So we should be seeing more content. As far as the matches go, there were only a few that really stood out to me. I actually really thought that The Miz versus Rollins was an excellent match for both of them. Theory versus Edge, I thought that was a killer match as well. The one thing I'll say that, once again, along with what Carlos had to say. How is Vince's hand not in the dinner plate on this one? Some of the things we're seeing are just bringing back the memories of the kind of crap he used to pull. NXT, Trick Williams definitely held it down. Ilya Dragunov always doing great. I'm really kind of over the whole entire BSDQs and the losses that Indy Hartwell is taking. Like Carlos said, it's like a wrestling purgatory. They started building her up and then just busted her back down. To me, that just seemed pointless. The main event of NXT, the Braun Breaker versus Jinder. I loved this match up until the end, and like Carlos said, I agree with him completely. I think Braun really kind of just left this outside of the ring. He really didn't bring it, and honestly, anybody that was watching closely could tell you that Jinder did bring it, and he had Braun Breaker beat. As far as SmackDown goes, really wasn't a big fan of anything that really went on SmackDown. None of it was bad. It was just kind of okay mode. And that's really kind of my thoughts for the week. If anybody else has anything they want to add on to it, please feel free.
I had a couple more things. I was just thinking, like the whole Brock Lesnar and versus Almost, like, what the hell? Like, what is even that for? Like, I like Brock Lesnar. You know, I've been enjoying what he's been doing and everything. And like, what this match? Like, what is the purpose of this match? Like, I cannot stand Almost. Like I said before, he is not a wrestler. He is just a big guy that comes in there and throws people around. You know, I don't understand the purpose of that match. And like,
that's the part where we're saying like it feels like Vince McMahon's back, because that match is a total Vince McMahon match. The Vince Omos versus Brock Lesnar, and Vince is a big fan of Omos. Like that match has Vince McMahon written all over it.
Yeah, I just saw no purpose in that. And then I was going to say, too, about Sammy and KO getting back together. Like, I was disappointed, which I know everybody's talking about, you know, slow burn. They got to build it back up, you know, because he did say he was through with him and everything. But I was like, oh, yeah, when they was in the ring together, I was like, oh, yeah, Sammy and KO. But then it was like, nope, not going to happen. So I was like, but, you know, they said they're building up, you know, it's supposed to be Sammy and KO versus the Usos. So that's, you know, it's supposed to be at WrestleMania is what I've heard. So I think that's going to be a pretty good match right there. But, you know, I still like the fact that Jay is like kind of on Sammy's side still. But, you know, ultimately that's his brother, you know. But I would love to see Jay go up against Roman. I think that would be an ultimate match right there. Because, you know, they had the problem before, you know, when he was doing Jay the way he was before, when he was trying to get him to join him. And Jimmy didn't want him to join him, and then he did. But now Jimmy's all for Roman, and Jay's back on the side again. So I'm just curious, like, really to see where they're all going with this. But you know, it's just this wrestling. You know, you got to let it build the storyline and everything. But and the Dominic thing, I'm sorry, y'all seem to like it, but I hate it. Every time I see him, I just want to smack him across his face. I mean,
that means he's doing his job.
But I mean, like Ray needs to just beat the hell out of him. Like, I mean, really, like, this is your kid, and you're letting your kid just come and just get in your face and hit you and all that and knock you out. Nah, man, slap him. And like Santos Escobar, it was like he posted a thing on Twitter. It was like smacking and talking about respect your papa and all this. Like, for real, respect him, man. Ray just needs to beat the shit out of Dom.
Damn.
That's all I got to say. Well, I mean, that's all I got to say.
No, Heather, it's okay. I'm actually with you on the Dominic.
No, I'm laughing because I know when Vader from Wish and NWO Machine listen to this podcast, they're gonna laugh because that's what. Yeah, because that's what NWO Machine is trying to say. Oh, Carlos and Vader have heat right now because I love Dominic and they're on your side, so you're in the majority. But again, I'm gonna root for my Hispanic stars. But again, I love what he's doing. Again, just seeing where he was and how bad he was, and this is, you know, I like seeing him find his own. But I definitely want to see him get his ass kicked though. But I do enjoy what he's doing.
All right, welcome Welcome back. And without further ado, we're going to get into the AEW programming for the week. On Dynamite, for the All-Atlantic Championship, Orange Cassidy defeats Wheeler Yuta. The Acclaimed beats the team of Lee Moriarty, Big Bill. Saraya defeats Sky Blue. In the Battle Royal, Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett win. And then Jon Moxley defeats Evil Uno. Rampage, the Young Bucks defeat Aussie Open. Tony Storm defeats Willow Nightingale. Lance Archer takes on a jobber job. That went pretty quick. And then main event, Sammy Guevara defeats Action Andretti. So we started with Carlos last time. Heather, do you have any thoughts about this week for AEW?
Okay, I'm trying to gather my thoughts after all that. Okay, I really liked Rampage, the Young Bucks against, oh my God, my brain just...
Aussie
Open. Yeah, I really liked that match. I thought it was really good. The action was good. They worked well together. I loved how they kept making each other, their tag partners, hit each other because they would like duck down or whatever and move out of the way. I really enjoyed that match, like just the action and like I said, the working together and everything. Because several times you thought the Young Bucks had won, then you thought the Open had won. And it was just like back and forth. I really thought that was a great match. And then the Evil Uno and Jon Moxley match, I thought it was a really good match. Evil Uno did an excellent job showing, what he was made of. He, the whole thing, like he got busted open and everything. And then, of course, his mask got ripped. But he did not give up. He was just like showing everything that he, like I said, that he was made of. He put on a hell of a fight especially against Jon Moxley, the wild man, the wild thing. But I thought that was a really good match. But I'm like so over Saraya and Tony Storm with the heel shit. I know it just started, and y'all know I don't like the heels anyway. But I'm glad that Ruby is wanting to go after the title. But that's really all I can think of right now because my mind's kind of after that technical difficulties we just had. Maybe I can come up with something later. But yeah, that's what I got to say right now.
All right, thank you, Heather. Carlos, go for it, buddy.
All right, so before I get into Rampage and into Dynamite, I just really want to give a quick shout out. If you don't usually watch AEW Dark, go back and watch this week's, and especially for the Emi Sakura versus Billy Starks match. If you're a fan of women's wrestling and just wrestling in general, the women absolutely tore the house down with their match. And again, I just really want to just encourage you guys. And even the main event of that show, Trent and I think it was Trent and Tony Nese. They had a really good main event as well. Again, if you're a fan of wrestling like Christopher, you talk about watching a lot of wrestling too. If you don't usually watch Dark, I really suggest going back and watching that main event. Again, it was just really well done. And again, I think those are the moments us as fans got to do. Is when we see great wrestling, no matter what platform it's on or what show it is, shout it out, because I think all of us enjoy a good match, and that was an amazing match. The Dynamite goes first of all. Let me give a shout out to Scissorzona as they chanted themselves during the Acclaim match, and again, like Triple H talked about it last week during the press conference for WWE. The crowd to me was the star of the show for Dynamite and Rampage. So again, when AEW has that kind of energy, it's going to make the show much better. And I hope that the fans bring that energy to the shows I'm going to in San Francisco. And I think I'm going to go to Rampage too on Friday because I'm going to be in town, but also then next Wednesday in Sacramento because I really want Sac to bring the energy because I want us to keep getting Dynamite shows. But to start, I think Orange Cassidy and Wheeler Yuta was a great opener. The Phoenix crowd brought the energy, like I said. I love how hard hitting the match was. Wheeler Yuta's definitely become one of my favorite wrestlers too. And again, for me, I like the little heel suggestions are given. And again, shout out to Claudio. I mean, he wasn't even in the match, but just how much he added to the match with going down there and slapping Yuta. And then he wouldn't let Yuta shake hands with Orange Cassidy in the end. Again, I just love that intensity that the Blackpool Combat Club has. And again, I think they just add something for wrestling that, again, like they're not bad guys yet, but they're those guys that fans want to root for. And again, for me, like I want to just say this, again, I hope Orange Cassidy is going to get a spot on Revolution because I think he's been doing so much for Dynamite over the past couple months. And again, I know, sometimes there's only so many spots, but to me, like he deserves to be showcased on their pay-per-view for what he's done to carry that brand, and he's been an original with them from the very beginning. I like the promo with Jericho and Starks. I like, Ricky's mannerisms and expressions. And again, we know what's going to happen, but at the same time, it was just a different turn. Like, because, Jericho is a narcissist, and Ricky Starks getting him to be like, well, I'm moving on. You don't want to have a match with me, and get him to ban the rest of the JAS from ringside during his match. Again, I just love that kind of stuff, and it just falling into, again, that's just good storytelling in my opinion. Stokely's halfway looking like a member of the Black Panthers was cracking me up during his whole time on Dynamite. It's like, this Shivani's time to scissor, I thought that was a really great line. I love the scissor. Again, it's just great when the announcers get to have fun with the crowd. I love the Christian Jungle Boy segment. Jungle Boy had been hesitant to give the Concerto shot to Christian was great, because I think in the end, just storybook telling long term, I think eventually, he does give him that Concerto at Revolution if that's where they fight, and eventually gets the win over him. The promo with MJF and Bryan Danielson was excellent. And again, it's like nothing's off limits with MJF. And again, I think it's good that he keeps it twofold. So, there's nothing off limits when it comes to him attacking people. But I think it's also good that he's fair with himself and nothing's off limits. And again, I guess it's real that him and his fiance broke up. And again, just talking about that and how he tied it into the card was just really good. And again, there's been rumors that Brie Bella might be at the pay-per-view on Sunday. So again, I just love, the whole thing, because to me, I want to see Danielson win, but I also wouldn't mind seeing MJF win early by concussing him, just falling into that storyline, like there's a lot they could do with that. So again, it was just, and again, it's like that came out of nowhere. And again, it was just it was really well said. And again, it just really made you think about, all that Bryan Danielson is sacrificing because of his love for wrestling and what he wants to give the fans. Again, I've said it already on here that, I'm a big fan of Jeff Jarrett and what he's doing. And so I think that him and Jay Lethal, I like that they're going to be there. I like that I get to see them. I love how Jay Lethal and Jarrett were just working together during the tag match. Again, that storytelling, them holding off in the corner, letting everyone else do the dirty work, them working as a team. Because I think that's, again, I think as fans sometimes we question things like, it's a tag team battle royal, why aren't you working with your partner? And again, they just show that simple psychology of it. Hey, we're a tag team, we should be working together to last. And again, for me, everybody keeps saying it's going to be, they think it's going to be FTR. I think it's going to be Darby Allin and Sting that are going to be the winners of the Casino Battle Royal next week, or the tag team Casino Battle Royal. And I think Sting and Darby are going to win the tag titles of Revolution, but we'll get more into that next week. And again, I like how Phoenix walked the ropes to eliminate Rouge. That was electrifying. The elimination of Dante by Butcher was really awesome. And again, I love me some Trent Beretta. I think, and I hope he's gonna get the bowling thing I'm going to next Saturday. But I love Trent being the last one. And then Jarrett and Lethal again are gonna be there next week. And the Mox Uno match was really cool. Again, if I was, and I put this on Twitter, if I was hanging out at Adam Page, I would have challenged Jon Moxley to a first blood match at AEW Revolution, because it would have been guaranteed a win. And again, I like the blood and him squeezing, but again, I didn't really see the point of Moxley bleeding for 60 seconds. But again, it's just, for me, it was, even though I knew Evil Uno was going to lose, like I just really like seeing one of the original guys that had been there from the beginning. And again, Dark Order was such a big presence when I first started watching. I started watching AEW when Brody Lee first got there and stuff. So just seeing them be featured again it makes my heart feel warm, And I thought that was really good. And again, guys like Evil Uno, they deserve those opportunities. And again, it just showed that Moxley's not going to hold anything back when he goes after Hangman Page at Revolution. As far as Rampage goes, I agree with Heather. The Aussie Open Young Bucks match was a really good match. And I think I like what she was talking about when they had the one guy holding his partner in the power driver position and then kick his knee. And he gave his partner the tombstone. I thought that was really good, And again, it's like, and I just love the ending. It was great of wrestling, And again, for me, like Captain Obvious, like we all knew, like the House of Black and Elite were gonna fight, But at the same time, it's still like it's so cool to see him come out there. To me, the Acclaim package that aired, I know they're trying to show that Lethal and the Guns are working together, and Jarrett, but to me, like they could have cut that promo out on Rampage, and because again, I think Aussie Open and the Young Bucks should have intros. Especially like Aussie Open, a team that's not there. Like I think it would have been really good to reintroduce fans with them, as far as seeing them come to the ring and just kind of letting fans get acclimated with them again. And then with the Willow Nightingale, I just brings a smile to my face every time I see Willow Nightingale on the screen. And her and Toni Storm had a really good match. I wouldn't mind seeing Toni Storm go after Jade at Revolution and seeing her again, if you're gonna get the heat, I know Heather hates her heels, but I love my heels. Have Saraya take the AEW women's match and have Toni Storm take the TBS title. If you're gonna go in it all the way and just put both titles on both women. Get as Bully Ray would say, heat, brother. I like the backstage segment with the firm, and again, I liked how Stokely and I liked how not Stokely, but Matt Hardy and Isaiah took a page up from Ricky Starks, and they got Stokely agrees to a match where if Matt Hardy loses, Stokely Hathaway has to have a match with Hook. So I wrote down are we going to see the finger poke of Doom 2.0 this week on that match? I think we might. I love the interview with Mark Henry with Daniel Garcia and Action Andretti with Sammy as well. Daniel Garcia's come a long way too, and he's another one of my favorite guys on there. That was a fun main event between Sammy and Action Andretti. Again, I've said it before. Action Andretti, for me, he's like that. He just reminds me of like the Brian Pillman of this era, like the guy that good-looking baby face that does high flying that you just want to see every week on your TV. And I don't think he was harmed by the loss, and I definitely think Sammy needed that win after the losses he's been taking.
Thank you, Carlos. Just a few thoughts as far as AEW from me. You guys pretty much covered it. Orange Cassidy versus Yuta, that was definitely a great physical match. Yuta definitely did awesome. I kind of felt like the Saraya versus Sky Blue match was a little bit too short. There was a mention of the Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny antics of, Jericho and Ricky Starks back and forth. What did you think about that, Carlos? Like the back and forth and then the reverse psychology?
Oh, I thought it was great. Like I said, I thought it was just, and I think that's where, we want to point out, look, well, duh, it's so obvious. But again, if you look at it, like Jericho's a narcissist, and of course he's going to want, well, why don't you want me to fight me anymore? I thought it was great, and that's a good analogy of it. I love that whole segment. I thought it was really good. And kudos to both those guys. And again, just Ricky's facial expressions, like that is like Rhodes. That is exactly like that because his facial expressions through the whole thing was priceless.
Yeah. Yep. Leave it to the mind of my brother to bring that analogy up. The Battle Royal, I enjoyed it for the same exact reasons that you did, Carlos. I love the fact that it was Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett, and it really caught my eye that those two were working so well together throughout the match. As far as Jon Moxley versus Evil Uno, this was an absolutely brutal killer match. They killed it. I loved it. A little bit later, when we get into the top 10, you're going to hear some different things from me that you probably would have never expected. Anyways, as far as Rampage goes, Young Bucks versus Aussie Open, that was a good match. I wasn't that big of a fan of the Toni Storm versus Willow Nightingale. I don't think they did Willow Nightingale any kind of justice. I think she's so much more talented than they're showing. The Lance Archer versus Jobber, that really just seemed unnecessary to me. Why even put that in there? We already knew what the outcome was going to be. Lance Archer isn't somebody that's just going to be a pushover when he walks in the ring. We know that. And then the Sammy versus Andretti. I thought it was an excellent match, even with the JAS's interference. I loved everything they did with it.
I agree with what you said too, like about the whole Lance Archer thing. I don't get the point. Like again, like if you're gonna have them on TV, like at least throw them in the Revolution battle, like what is it, what they call it, the head of the Revolution or whatever it is, the Revolution battle royal is happening on Dynamite. Like if you're gonna bring him back for all of a sudden, at least throw face of the Revolution battle royal ladder match. At least throw him in a ladder match. I just didn't get that at all. Yeah. And again, having him beat a Jobber, like, what was the point of that? I mean, no damn sense. Because he went in and complained last week on Twitter, so Tony had to make him happy. Like that's what it was. And that's what it was, because he made a comment about how he hasn't been on TV and his boots are just sitting there or something like that. So now he all of a sudden gets brought back. I mean, what good is that going to do anybody?
Yeah, that if that was the resolution to it, then that was no resolution at all.
Oh, okay, about that match right there, like if that's one thing I'll never understand. If you bring them back and they want to fight, let them freaking fight. Like, why do you just got to put them in there with some little nobody and then, oh, well, it's obvious. Squash match, over with. I mean, I never understand that myself.
Yeah.
And, it's like, if they want a match, let them have a match. Let them fight. Don't just, like, oh, yeah.
To me, it would make sense. Like, okay, like next week on Dynamite, have Lance Archer fight Brian Danielson. and then have MJF pay him to come back as the one last person to take him out. Now that would make more sense.
I would have loved to see that.
Right,
Yeah.
Exactly.
But instead,
You listening, Tony Khan?
instead, what we got was a waste of TV time and talent time. I don't know; those things kind of always bother me. And we're back. It's time for us to give our top 10 for the week, and then we'll follow it up with the shout-outs. We only have a couple of people that are actually prepared for this top 10, so without further ado, Mr. Carlos, let's hear it.
All right, so my top 10. So for number 10, I had Action Andretti. My number 9 was Ivy Nile. Number 8 was Baron Corbin. And number 7 was Trick Williams. Number 6 was Wheeler Yuta. Number 5 was Aussie Open. Number 4 was Jimmy Uso. Number 3 was Dominic Mysterio. Number 2 was MJF. And number 1 was Emi Sakura. I really encourage everybody to watch the match. And before we get further, as we were told by one of our partners, again, congratulations, Jon Moxley, on your 100th win. We forgot about that. Again, I guess all the blood kind of distracted us from that. But I know, especially we're all fans of Jon Moxley. Again, congrats on win number 100. So he's, I guess, 1A.
Alrighty, I guess I will go ahead and get to my top 10 now. My number 10 was Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett.
Wow. Woo!
Yep. My number 9, Trick Williams. Number 8, The Young Bucks. Number 7, Tony D'Angelo. Number 6, Wheeler Yuta. Number 5, Shayna Baszler. Number 4, Asuka. Number 3, Seth freaking Rollins. Number 2, making my list for the first time, Evil Uno. And number 1, I can't believe I'm saying this, Jonathan Moxley.
Yay!
I was kind of expecting that. Now we'll get to the shout out. Heather, you want to go ahead?
I really don't have any specific ones, but it's just like to everybody that always listens and supports. And I just want to thank all y'all. Y'all know who you are. I've given you shouts out before. And especially to you, William, Carlos, and John. Y'all are the most awesome people I know. Thank you so much for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you for being part of this
Welcome,
team.
thank you.
We love you. All right, Carlos.
First, I know you'll probably give a shout out, but again, I shout out to our fellow podcaster, Ken, aka Mr. Gentleman, who's been listening to us all week. And again, to the whole show. He's a big fan of wrestling. So again, Ken, just thank you for the support. You're definitely a fan of our podcast, and we're a fan of yours as well. I want to give a big shout out to Ted Hillbilly Heel. Please, you guys, if you're listening to this podcast, Ted's off Twitter right now just for his own. He just wasn't pushing the negativity. And again, let's just make sure that we're still supporting him and giving him some love with this podcast every week. It gets released every week. The Hill podcast, to Hillbilly Hill. A big shout out to him. He's always been a big supporter of our show, and I know he still is. And again, I just want to just really shout him out to Hillbilly Hill. And just make sure that we just because he's not on Twitter, let's not lose our support and love for him. He does a great podcast every week. And, let's keep giving him that love and supporting him. And again, also big shout out to Vader from Wish and NWO Machine, who again gave our podcast some love, and our other partner, Brian Atkins, big shout out to him. He shouted us on his Tap Out Talk as well. And that's it. And again, everyone I know, John. I know you'll probably mention this. Everyone who tuned in this week, again, everybody who supports us. Just thank you. And again, for me, Heather, again, what you said. We are a family, and that's one thing I'm grateful for. Is that that John's brought us all closer and together, and we all doing this together. And again, no matter what, Twitter can be fickle. Sometimes with wrestling. But I'm just glad that I have so many awesome people in my life that make it such a fun experience for me. And I'm just really grateful to have you guys all as part of my family. So thank you guys all. And again, I love you all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Carlos. So I'm going to go ahead and give my recognition to the team and to everybody who listens to us. Thank you so much. Like they said, they pretty much took all the words out of our mouths. There's not much more I can say about it. It's cool to be part of this. I did talk to John, and he gave me his shout outs for the week. So we're going to start off with Ken, Mr. Gentleman of the Mr. Gentleman podcast, Rosie Blue Eye, Jason Cross, Carolina at Caro Bucks, Christopher at C Denver 29, Marcy at Partain Marcy, and BuzzTube TV at BuzzTube. Thank you to Libsyn for hosting this podcast and providing it to every available audio platform. Go visit our website at www.wrestlingfansinsight, spelled INCITE.com, to find us on your favorite audio platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Ghana, YouTube, and more. If you like our podcast and want to be notified of our latest releases, please subscribe on our page, WrestlingFansInsight.com, or whichever audio platform you listen on. While you're at it, if it's possible, please give us a 5-star rating and review. We'd be happy to read your review on future recordings. You can follow and interact with us on Twitter. My handle is at WilliamHoppy8. Carlos?
So my personal Twitter is at C_LOS77. And also my nonprofit, you can reach me there at Conquer the No. Thank you guys.
Heather?
It's Bama Girl _4_easy, Bama Girl Forever.
If you're on Facebook, look for our group, The Fans of Pro Wrestling. And lastly, if you'd like to leave us a text message or feedback on our voicemail, our number is 1-385-367-4772. We hope you enjoyed this week's program, and we'll be back next Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on Twitter Space. Be safe, be kind, and have a great week.